Yeah, hi. Any doubts? Yes. Yes. Mhm. Yeah, yeah, you can also validate using an operator. Okay, so I'll tell you. Just you can see my screen. Mhm. Okay, okay, fine. Okay, let me start recording first. So let me go to. So now we want to check whether the string is a sorry, whatever I have entered is a string or an integer. Okay, so to do that, what we will first actually we have to analyze that what value the string will return. Okay, so what happens when you do something like this, right? The logic is like, let's say I have y equal to 10. Okay, now if say I do something like z equal to, if you remember, dollar brackets, okay, and if I say dollar y plus, let's say 1, right? So what it will do, it will add y plus 1 and store the value in z, correct? And the output would be something like echo dollar z 11, right? In the same, let's say I say x equal to some string. Okay, enter. Now if I do it here, x, okay. Now if I do echo dollar z, okay, what it will do, it will still be having the same value. Okay, it will not change because it will not take any value for this to calculate. Okay, so this number will remain same. Okay, so if that number is greater than or something more than what you have added here, so you can check whether it will be an integer or not. So like x, if I can do anything, like let's say I put it in any way, and let's say in place of z I will press some random b. Okay, and if I do echo dollar b, okay, it will just display me 1, keep displaying me 1. It is not going to display me anything because there would be no value for this, right? Dollar x, this is a string. Okay, so that's why it will be just taking every time 1. So even if I say, let's say z equal to something space, okay, enter. So if I do echo dollar z first, okay, it is a space, normal space character I have put there. Now if I say, let's say c equal to dollar z plus 1, so if I do echo dollar c, still 1, right? So any string other than number if I am putting, it will not do any addition there. Okay, it will still remain same. No, where here? No, if j, right? No, if I am putting j equal to some number, right? 0. Then if I do like this, sorry, equal dollar c, sorry, no, c, 1. Okay, that is, but here it has actually calculated. It has not done, right? Earlier it was not calculating. If it was a string, it will not be calculating there. Okay. So see, Google also, if you do, you will get multiple options are there. It's not that only one option is there to calculate it. This is one of the way. Okay, easy way, like then you have multiple options, right? What it should do. Okay. So this is easy. More easy is like in place of one, what I will prefer. Let's put 0 here. Okay. If I put 0, right? I will add 0 every time. That means if I go ahead and do echo dollar $z, so that means 0, correct? So which means this is a normal value. But let's say if I am putting any number other than that, j more than 1 or 2, so it should always be greater than 0. Okay, it will always be greater than 0. Okay. And even let's say if I do like this, let's say I'm not storing it in a variable. So if you do echo dollar question mark, you will get some 1. But let's say same way if I was defining j as something else. Okay, so this way you will not be able to find it. Like many people try that, can we do it like that if it's true or false? So this will not work here. Okay, because it will do calculate, it will take it as 0 only, no variable value, and it will still return 0, which is true. So that's why it is giving 1 every time. Okay, yes, so that's why I showed you, like this normally students do, right? But you have to store it in somewhere, some value. That's why for storing we use this one. Okay, any other doubts? See, function you have to use the same way. Maybe you have used for the phone book. If you have written phone book assignment, I am not able to check whether you have sent me or not, but in the phone book you can use that function. Yes. Okay, so like most of our commands and most of the programmatic logics we have covered. Okay, only thing is now different commands can be used for different entities, right? Till now we have learnt only from programmatic logic, right? We are counting it, we are counting using the counters and everything, but there are different commands also which you can directly use. Okay, so the more number of commands you will study, learn, the more you can use them in your scripts, and it will become more easy. Okay, so now only arrays is left, that I will do it tomorrow or day after tomorrow. But for today, first thing is now what we have been doing right now. Okay, some important things. So we are every time doing like this to execute it, right? To execute it, we are every time doing like this, correct? Dot forward slash and doing it. Okay, or any, let's say hello function, if I'm typing it, okay, it is doing something hello and printing me. But why I'm using dot forward slash here? Okay, have you thought of it, why it is used? Can't we run without it? Any idea? Yes. Yeah, dot means, if you remember, dot I told you is the current directory, and then in current directory it is picking hello function dot sh. Okay, But let's say I want that, okay, I just directly anywhere I am there, I don't want to be at current directory, I want to execute this hello function that is kept here in this location, that is kept here. I want to execute it every time. Okay, execute it directly like this. Okay, okay, or you might see some places doing like this. Okay, sh. So this is like shell run this particular entity, this will work. But if I only run this, it will not run, it is giving me error. Okay, command not found. Okay, it is treating it as a command and unable to find it. Okay, so what happens, it actually refers to the path that is defined in your environment. Okay, so if you remember the earlier sessions where I have told about the environment variables, correct? So in environment variables, what we were doing, we were various type of environment variables are there. So right now if you see ls, it gives me output, right? Or I do cd, I don't have to put dot cd dot ls, right? Dot forward slash ls, it is automatically picking those specific commands, correct? So I don't have to go ahead and use any of those. So how it is picking, so if you remember one command I told, which ls. Okay, so it is saying it is picking from user bin, and this is the ls command. The actual command is located here, but still I am running from anywhere, it is executing for me. Clear? So now why is this? So to do this, what happens, there is a variable in every Linux cell that is called as path variable. If you see, so this path variable tells whenever you enter any such command, ls, cd, or let's say hello function.sh, it will tell to find it in any of these directories what is defined in a path environment variable. Okay, getting it? Yeah, these paths will actually contain your actual commands, scripts, wherever you have kept it. Let's say now what I am doing, I want to run this directly, right? I want to run this directly, but it is not working. Okay, because what the shell or the bash is doing, it is searching this file in where, in this location separated by semicolon, this location, sorry, this till here, right? So it is searching in these locations, but it is unable to find it. Okay, so that's why if I do which hello function.sh, it says no hello function found in any of these paths. See the same path variable, it was not able to find it. So to make it work, what we do normally, I will say export path, I will define the path variable, and what I will say, dollar path, take the current value of path, which is this. Okay, this is already there, take this value plus, so to add one more path in this path variable, I will use colon here. Okay, I will use a colon sign, and then I will give this path where my shell scripts are placed. I will shift insert here and enter. Now if you do echo dollar path, see this is a new path that gets added here. You got it? Now if you do which hello function.sh, okay, it is able to find it, that it's under shell script hello function.sh. So if I run it, it will get executed. I am at any location, it will be executed. Okay, so I don't need to give dot forward slash. Okay, dot forward slash was defining that, okay, this is present in the current working directory. Whereas now if you have defined that path where your shell scripts are located, then you don't have to give the dot forward slash or define the mention the whole path. Clear? Okay, so if you see it here, so if I go to shell script, any command I can now execute, right? Let's say this case was there, so I can just simply run it, it will start executing it, right? So I don't have to give anything. So but this path what we have done right now, this will be, where it is, path export, export. Okay, this one. Oh, sorry. This is the export that I have written. Now, but this will be true only for this shell that is open. Let's say I open one more terminal, and if I do SSH OEL7 plus, if I connect to that server, okay. Now if I do the same thing here, same hello function, here it will not work. Okay, it is working in that particular shell itself. Okay, so what you can do, what should you normally prefer to do? You can prefer to always set that path variable where, if you remember, there is a file that I told you, bash profile or profile, right? If you set it here, if I will show you, see, a path variable is already there. What I can simply do, I can just add one more colon here and my whole path, right? So that it will take that specific path. So let's say I will add it here, home Himanshu shell script. Got it? And I will save it. So next time if I do SSH to this server, so I can directly run with the script I ran earlier. Let's say case, so I can directly enter and it will directly pick up the value because that is set in the path. Clear? Okay, so path is also very important because many places you might get confused at how they are running without putting it dot forward slash. Okay, so this is how your path works. Any doubt, questions? It totally depends how you are running it. Okay, if let's say you are doing cron job or something, you will not be able to directly use that way. Okay, so in that particular place you have to define the full path. Okay, there I don't prefer to use a relative path. Okay, you have to use a full absolute path when you are defining a cron job. Okay, so that we will just now see cron also in some time. So that also you can go ahead and see it. Now before that, this is clear path concept. So path is very important. If you are keeping, let's, so normally we keep the shell script in one specific locations or the scripts. Okay, so we mention that particular path in the path variable so that you don't have to go to that directory and call every time. You know, okay, I have to just log in and just run the script. It doesn't matter where the script is kept. Okay, but when you are doing like this, so always remember, whenever you are doing like this, so you have to also make sure that in case you are making any directory files and everything inside the script, so that should also know where they should create. It should have a proper path. If let's say I'm running from here, it will create a directory in my home directory, but I don't want it to get created here, right? It should have created somewhere else. So that part you have to think of, okay, that where it should actually create. So that's why whenever we write a shell script, it's very important to understand how the script is going to create, and let's say if some user is running from somewhere else, then how it will handle that situation. Okay, so it is actually the set of actions that you are defining. So you have to think how it is going to work and how it should work. So based on that, you have to understand and define it. Clear? Okay. Now next thing, just now we saw also, if I do which ls, you can see there is an option of alias is written here, alias. Okay, what is this? Okay, so alias are basically used to shorten any big command. Let's say you have a very huge or big command, right? Let's say you are connecting to some application, connecting to an AWS server, Azure server, command line, right? There is a big command line, but you say, okay, it's a very big, every time I have to type so much, right? Or I have to copy paste. So in place of that, what we normally do, we create aliases. Okay, so aliases will help you to go ahead and easily shorten down your whole command, and you just have to do once. Like, let's say I am saying every time I have to go to, let's say, home Himanshu shell script, right? Every time I do like this, correct? So every time I have to do the whole cd command, correct? Rather than that, I want, okay, I want to make it little easy. I want to make it a little easier for me to work on it. So what I will do, I can simply say alias, and I will say directly anything, any name I can give, go scripts equal to, what does we are doing, cd insert and this. Okay, so now what I have defined, I have defined is alias go scripts. Okay, now if I want, I am at any directory, let's say I am at Himanshu directory, any directory I am here, right, wherever I am. But if I just hit go scripts, okay, and enter, it will directly take me to the home Himanshu shell script. Getting it? So you can use it for any specific purpose. Okay, you can use it for any specific purpose as well. Any doubts? Okay, now what you can do, you can also go ahead and say, let's say I want to create an alias that accepts some parameters. Okay, so that accept any parameters means the positional parameter command line, right? If I am, let's say, writing something like this, cd go and let's say any directory name or something, right? So it is a parameter, so it looks like a positional parameter, correct? $1 position, right? Or if I say, so 3 positional parameters it is taking. So how can this be created with an alias, right? How this will be created using an alias? Okay, so what you can simply do, you can create a function here. Okay, you can create a function that will take the alias and it will work as a basic command. Okay, now how it will do, let's say till this alias it is clear, right? Okay, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes, of course. You can say create use in shell script. You can go ahead and use it in your bash profile directly, because again this alias what we have defined is only going to be true in this specific shell, right? It is not going to be true in other shells. So you have to define this in your bash profile. No, no, come on, come back again. I missed your question. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Okay. Yes. Yes, let's see. But that alias should be available in your bash. Okay. Okay. If that is not present, you will not be able to do that. Okay. So that alias should be present in your bash. So let's say you can, like, alias can be used for anything. Let's say I will create an alias that, okay, what is the directory currently? Let's say direct b equal to, and the same way, like echo you are at dollar pwd. This is also a variable. Okay. Now if I run it, dirb. Okay. So you are at this location. Okay. So it will also work the same way like you were working on a normal regular shell script. Okay. Now every time I am doing ls-ltr, right, to display it. But what I can do, I can also do it like alias l, let's say any name, or let's say I will do hi to display my detail, and I will mention ls-ltr. Okay. Now if I do hi, it will show me the same result of ls-ltr, but it will be a shorter format. Okay. Because I have added it in a specific alias. Clear? Okay. Same way, it is also very important to be used where you are removing the files. Let's say you want to remove certain files. Okay, you want to remove a file, and there you want, okay, that directly no one should remove it. Okay, so in remove command, if you remember, there is an option of interactive. Okay, so let's say if I want to remove it, it will ask you, do you want to remove it? Okay, so that is an option that is there in remove, so that no one directly deletes it. Okay, so what we normally keep it, like in real time we do it, we create normally alias rm only, let's say, but what we will define it, we will define it as rm hyphen I. Okay, so that in case I just do rm server list, but still it will ask me, because rm is pointing to rm hyphen I, where it will be interactive, it will ask you for a detail. Getting it? I is interactive. If you are deleting a file, it will first check whether that file should be deleted, it will confirm with you. Okay, it will go ahead and confirm with you whether you want to delete it or not. Okay, so in case you say no, maybe by mistake you have run rm command, right? So you can press no and come out of it. Getting? Okay, so if you want to see how many aliases are currently defined, so you can do alias hyphen p. So it will tell you how many aliases are defined currently in the system. Okay, at the system level, how many aliases are there. So it will show you the system level aliases that are defined. Got it? So see this one, I have defined rm equal to rm hyphen I. Okay, go scripts I have defined. Okay, and then this high ls hyphen ltr I have defined. Others are system defined, and this one also I have defined. Clear? No, you can change it. You can change it. But normally these are just basic. It is just giving you color. It will give you colored output. Okay, that's it. Other than that, it is not doing anything. It is giving me a colored output. So that's why it is displaying me here. Okay, so let's say if you want to go ahead and unset your alias. Okay, so what you can do, you can just simply do unalias and the particular command. Let's say hi I was using, right? So I can do unalias, and what I will do, hyphen, sorry, hyphen, sorry, hi, what is the alias name? So I will enter. So now if I check, hi is gone from here, the alias list. Got it? Yes. If you want to do for all, I will not run it, but an alias hyphen a, it will remove all the aliases. Just you have to define it again. Yeah, same, define again, it will be there is like no separate modification that you are doing. You are just defining it again. So that will be again defined here. Yes, I will show you. See, now here gone, unalias hyphen L P, all gone, right? Now if you see it, other terminal, alias hyphen P. Standard ones will not go. The ones that you have defined, that will go. Because how it takes, see, there is a file bash rc. Okay, in this bash rc it calls a internal file, which is etc bash rc. So if you see it here, most of the aliases would be here. Let me open it. System wide, and then it will be defined. It will internally call one more file. Okay, so internally it keeps calling the other file, so you have to check internally the file, and then you have to go ahead and change that file to remove that custom aliases. So if I go to here, okay, so internally it should be there. There is a file actually inside it, but we don't need to worry about it, leave it for now. Okay, so it will be called here, but if you want to define for your specific user, you can simply do it in this specific profile file. That will be enough. Okay, you don't need to separately do it. Okay, clear? Also a good practice is that some places you will see a file normally is there, or you can create dot bash underscore aliases. Okay, so that all the aliases you can define in that file, and that file you can call inside any bash profile or something. Okay, so that you have a segregate entity of all the aliases that are defined in your system. Okay, so you don't have to worry about which aliases you have to use or which you don't have to use. Getting it? How? So let's say if I just create a file dot bash underscore aliases, add aliases. Okay, and let's say what I was doing here, alias I equal to, let's say ls-ltr. Okay, let's say I will keep one alias for now. You can keep any number of aliases and save it. Okay, so I have this file now, ls-la, bash aliases. Okay, now what I can do, I can include this file in the bash profile. I can call it inside this profile. So how I normally do it, shift G. Okay, so I will not call it like just, I can have an option like this dot, and I can just say in my home directory I have bash underscore aliases. Okay, I can call it like this, right? Easy dot, sorry. Okay, so I can simply call like this, right? But what happens whenever doing it, in case that file is not there, so it shouldn't call. So normally what we do, if you see it here, an if condition is there. If you remember, hyphen f is to check whether the file exists or not. Okay, if this exists, then only source it. So same way we do it here also. Okay, same way we will do it here also, that if dot bash underscore aliases aliases so either you use semicolon or later you do it fine. Okay, so if that is there, it will source it. If it is not there, it will not source it, and save it. All right, now if let's say I open a new terminal, and if I do hi, see, it will automatically be running because that alias is defined at my profile level. Got it? Okay, so these way you can actually go ahead and define also. Many places you will see color also, you can color define. Whenever it finds, it will define some type of colors. Okay, so to navigate to path easy to, or to make it more easy in the commands, we run these aliases. So it will be helpful to be used. Okay, and you can bash alias. That's a good practice. Like you can directly also do it in bash profile. There is no harm in it, right? But in a better practice, I can do in that way. That will be more beneficial. Okay. So what even I can do? Like say next time you are defining it, right? Next time, let's say I was defining it here, so many aliases. Do I have any? Okay. Anyways, let's say I define an alias as alias cd, sorry, alias go dir equal to cd, and my path, where is that? Slash home slash Himanshu slash. So the same easy way what we have learned, shell script sort directories, shell script. Okay, so this I can do, it will be only for this bash shell. So what you can simply do, the same easy way that we have learned, you can redirect this alias value to where, to your home directory dot bash underscore aliases, right, and hit enter. So it will directly be writing it here. So if I just cat it, sorry, hold on, okay, I have not defined echo value. Okay, because I want to enter this value, right? So I have to put a echo here because I want to put the same as it is into the file, right? I have defined it echo. Okay, Okay, see now it has done it. Clear? Okay, so echo will be needed because I want to put the same entry. Okay, I missed that. So only alias is just to define. You have to put the whole thing inside bash aliases so that when next time it calls, so it should set that alias there. Okay. So this is how you are defining the various aliases. Okay. So function based aliases can also be created. Okay. So you can check that if you are able to do it, and if you see if you are able to go ahead and do it. And also the good practice, maybe if you don't want to put aliases here, if you want to do it at system wide level, like for the whole system, this is better for the user level if I am doing for Himanshu user. But let's say I am going ahead and doing it for all the systems. Okay, all the system level. So what I can do, the same location where I went, ctc profile dot d. Okay, so if you see all here are the files. So here I can create a file alias.sh. Okay, if I create a file alias.sh and put all the entries there, so whenever it is sourced for all the system level users, it will be called from here. So it will be system wide, not only specific to a user, it will be going for system wide aliases for the users. Okay. So you can create that file because these are the sh file that are being called. So the file that I showed you, etc bash rc. Okay, so it calls all the files and sources it. If you see the loop is there, all the sh file, if you see it here, all the files that ends with .sh, it will source and it will set that environment dot and see the file name. Everywhere the same shell script is only used, it's nothing separate. Which one? Just a second. Where were we? etc profile dot CSS, right? This is normally the C compiler type scripts. Okay, normally you will see, but if you see a little different end if is there. Okay, so it will only run in C sh shell, not in bash shell. Okay, so it is normally not be, yes, so it will not exactly run directly. Okay, so if I show you, if the cell is defined, okay, see syntax error when I am running this. Okay, CSH. Whereas if you see vim sh, it is normal if. If you see the if is differently used, whereas vim chs, the logic remains same. Only thing is how the if else condition and everything that will change. Okay, but only in CSH and TSH, those type of cells, not in the ones like KSH and everything, like whether you are doing Linux in normal Red Hat OEL or HP UNX AIX, so those will not change, that will not vary. But CHS, TSH, there are different type of compilers that are built so that you can work along with Linux shell plus your C compiler codes. So they are mostly used in your hardware type devices where you have hardware types and where the program is interacting with the hardware, or mostly in the electronics. Okay, so whatever you see, right, touch screen on your refrigerator or washing machine and everything, so that is also programming that is being done there so that it will interact with the hardware. So wherever the hardware is used, right, so mostly C compiler is needed. That's why C and C has C++ are still needed because everywhere assembly language and everything, C will be needed. Okay. So that can also be done there. Now next we have, so try to find out how we can use aliases for based on functions. Okay, let's see if you are able to find it. Okay, then aliases for functions means how can you pass some parameters to your alias as well, right? So that it will work as a separate command itself. Okay, so you can try out, else we will discuss tomorrow. Okay, then we have cron jobs. Okay, now what is a cron job? Okay, so first important thing is, whenever you are want to schedule, automatically schedule some jobs, right? That should automatically run every time I am going ahead and executing, it should run automatically. Let's say I have scheduled it every morning 8 a.m. it should run. Okay, so that will be a cron job that should be running and doing the set of action items whatever is written in that script. Okay, so let's say if I have the cd what was the alias, I forgot. Anyways, here we shell script. So let's say I have any that runs automatically. Okay, so see, this is a script that will run, do some tasks. Okay, now what it will do, it is executing that particular task, but I want it to not manually run it, but I want to run it using a scheduler. Okay, I want to run it that, okay, every day it should run at 8 a.m. correct? Hello. Uh-huh. The while until dot sh, you cannot see the my terminal. Okay, okay, so that script is there which runs when I am running it, but I want it to automatically run it. So what we use cron jobs. Okay, so cron job will be specific to the user. If I am setting the cron job for Himanshu, it will be only for Himanshu. Okay, so it's like a task scheduler that it will schedule a set of actions that I have defined for this particular script. Clear? So very basic cron is that you can see what crons are set or not. Okay, so the same thing, cron tab is an command, cron tab. If you see, it is the calling from here. So if I want to see all my cron entries, cron tab -l, it will say no cron tab set for user Himanshu, because we have never done any cron. Clear? Now next thing, if I want to add a cron tab -e, so it will open up a editor that will work same as your vi editor. Okay, that's why vi is very important. So it will be working the same as vi editor. Okay, now the important point here is, let me see if I have something. Google is working ping. Okay, so sudo. Okay, just I'm checking if I have a cron helper here. Install. Meanwhile, let me explain here. Cron tab. So cron has 5 entities at the beginning. If I will refer it with star, 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 star and star, and then your job or script name. Okay, so these 5 star, what does they denote? Okay, let's see. First star, second star, third star, fourth star and fifth star. So first star denotes what? It will denote your minutes. At what minute? So let's say if I say 8:48, right? So 48 is the minute, right? So it will be your 48th minute when you want to run that. So first star is for your minute, this first star. This is for your minutes. So the minute value can be from 0 till 59. Okay, 0 is your, like let's say if you want to say at 8 a.m. so that will be 0th minute, right? So that is your 0, and till 59 you can give any value here. Clear? Okay, second is your hours. Okay, hour. Okay, so it will take 24-hour clock. Okay, not the 12-hour clock, it will take 24-hour clock, so it will be your hours. So what it will be having, it will take again the same value from 0. So the midnight 12, that is the first 0th hour, and the last hour would be 23, that is your 11 p.m. Okay, so if you want 12 midnight, so that will be 0 actually. Okay, then next is your day of month. Day of month, let's say you want, okay, this script should only run on the 10th day of my month. Okay, so that would be your 10th day for that particular month. So you can mention it as 1,31. So it can be anything ranging from 1 to 31. Clear? So that value will be 1 till 31, that is the maximum date. Then you have month. Earlier was day of the month, now it is month. Month will be ranging from 1 to 12. That let's say you want only that script to be running on February, so that will be your second month, so you have to mention 2 there. Okay, if you are not giving anything and you are leaving it as star, star means it will run for all month, it will run for all day, it will run for all hours, and star minute, if you are giving with minute star, that means it will keep running every minute. Okay, so remember, never give star with the minute. Okay, else it will totally go your resources very high on the server and it might crash your server. Okay, depending upon what the script is doing. Okay, star in minute is very dangerous. Okay, if you don't know, just put it as 0 there. Okay, 0th minute, like if I say 9 a.m. so what I will say, 9:00, right? 9:00, so 00 is the minute and 9 is your hour, so I will put 9 here and 0 here. So you can put both 00 or you can put only 10, both is the same thing. Okay. Yeah, yes, because if you leave star minute, right, this is a real time scenario that happened, so that's why I'm telling you. Okay, because if you give star and leave it, okay, maybe forgot, okay, to change, because that job will keep triggering every minute. Let's say you have given star means 9:00, 9:01, 9:02. So let's say in 1 hour it will trigger by 60 times, and see if you have leave it for 12 hours, so it will be a huge sessions, right? So many sessions triggering and consuming all your CPU and memory, so that will cause an issue on the system. Okay, and last star is meant for your, yes, it is installing anything, and last star is for your day of week. So day of week starts with 0 is for Sunday, always remember 0 is for Sunday, and then it will move 1 2 3, and it will go till 6. 6 is for the Saturday. So the cycle runs between Sunday to Saturday. So 0 is the first day of the week is Sunday, and then it will move further. Clear? Okay. So that will be your first day of now if let's say I want to run it this script. Okay. So cron tab hyphen e. So I will edit using cron tab hyphen e. Now if I go ahead, so I want that right now it's 8:53. So I want to run my script at 8:55. So I will say 55. Then I will say 8. Then star. I don't want to give any specific day or month or day of a week. And then I will mention what is my script name. What was that? Home. Shell underscore script. What was the name of that script? Let me see it quickly. While until cron tab hyphen e, shift a, shift insert, and save it. Right. And now if I want to see what content is there in my cron tab hyphen l. So this is the content, right? So right now if you see it's still 54. So we will wait it. See now it's 55. The script would have executed, but how will I know, right? How should I know, right? The admin can know that your script is running. As an admin I can tell that okay I can see, but as an user how will you know that your script is running, right? Because you will be working as a user or a developer, right? So you cannot see whether your script got executed or not. Okay, so that's why always have a output redirect. Let's say I will change it to 7 for now and save it. But also what I will say, after my script executes, where should be the output? Because cron will not show you output on screen. Remember, it will not display anything on screen. Even your script prints anything on screen, it will not display anything on your screen because cron is a scheduler. So what I will give, I will redirect it to some temporary file, temp, and I will say what is cron while dot log, right, and save it. Now if my script is there, whenever this script executes, it will write the content to where? To this particular file. Clear? Okay. Now what it will do? Yes. So let's wait for just 4 seconds. Okay. So still we have 7 seconds more. Yeah. So now we have, sorry, 8:57. So now if you see, this file would have got created. Okay. So this file, see, it got created because I scheduled the cron using root, so it is getting created by root. Don't do with root. Okay. Sorry, I don't see it from root. So now if you see, it executed the script and saved the output here. Clear? Got it? Now let's say I will say okay I want to execute from my user, not from here. I will exit here and see here there would be no cron entry because it's specific to user. The one that I set is for root, not for this. So if I go ahead and do it, cron tab hyphen e, insert, paste. Yes. Okay, and I will save it, but let me change it. R8. sorry, it's already 8. $59. And let's say in this while until, let's say I will give some error here, let's say syntax error or some error is there, right? These are errors because the syntax is incorrect. Now let's see what happens, and let me go to my temp file and remove this file. Okay, it's from root user. Anyways, it got 59. If you see, the last written date to this file was 8:57. It never write anything of 59, right? The timestamp has not changed. Means it has not executed that script because there was an error in that script, correct? Right? It will execute, but error you will not know whether it has executed successfully or not, right? I am coming to that point also, how we can do that, but I am just showing you first the scenario. Okay, so here it is only how you can compare, because the last executed time was 8:57 and this was the time. So let me, what I do first, let me remove that file rm, sorry, su 1.3 cd temp rm cron, yes, now exit. Now that file is gone, I will go to shell. So see what would have happened if I am running this script. No, wait, until, while until, yeah, while until. So see, it is giving me error, right? So if I go ahead and execute it, right? Let's see if it gets executed, what it will give. So what I will do, I will make the changes to the cron. Cron tab hyphen e. So now my time has changed, so it's 9, and let's say I will say insert 01 hours. Arey yaar. Okay, 02. Okay. So right now if I see, go to my temp, okay, so just wait. Nine, okay, see, it created log but no output here, right? Where is the output, right? Because it failed. So if you remember the redirect, I told you something, the value 2 and 1, okay, the value 2 and 1 was there, right? 2 was for your error and 1 was for output, right? So how I can use that, that's why it's important, because it have not captured me the error, so how will I know what happened, right? So here what I will do, at the end I will say 2 and 1 both should go to the same file. Okay, that error should also go to the same file where the output is going. So my output is going to temp cron while.log, so my error will also go to the same file. Clear? Okay, so here it is very useful, that's why I have told you earlier. So let's say I will change the time to 4 R4, save it. Okay, right now if you see, still my script should error out, and This is one that is executed. So let's wait. Meanwhile, let me tell you. Okay. Now there are various tools that can help you to write cron jobs very easily. If you are very confused that okay, I have to run every 5 minutes, every 2 minutes, how should I write it? Okay, so just do cron help here. Okay, so you will get lot of different cron helpers already there that are web based, so where you don't need to worry about how to write the schedule. Okay, so here you just have to define what you want to do and it will tell you that whatever you have written it will execute when. It will execute at 4:05. Okay, so it will be executed at 4:05. Let's say if I say fourth day and 6 10, so it will say this script, what wherever you will put before a script, that script will be running at 10:11 on the day 6 of the month. That means the 6th or any month, and on Thursday only. Okay, if that 6 is on Thursday, then only it will be executed. Clear? So there you have to do like this. So these are the tools that are very useful. You don't need to worry. Also there are step values. Let's say I want to execute every 5 minutes. Let's say I want to execute the script every 5 minutes. How will I do? So I have two options. Okay, so first let me put star 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 here. Okay, and I will say in place of that I will say every 0th hour comma every 5th comma 6 no 6 10 15 space 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 space. So what it will say, it will run at 5 10 15, like that. You can separate by comma if you want to define a range. Clear? But to avoid that, let's say you say okay, I want to execute every 5 minutes, but this is very typical task, right? I have to write 20 25 30 31 till 60. I have to go like that, right? So there is an option of step values. So what you can do is star every minute, every fifth minute. So that will be every fifth minute. Whenever the script will execute, it will go ahead and run every fifth minute of the script. So it will run 5 10 15. It will keep executing the script. Okay, got it? Yes, so you can verify, like, yeah, you can verify it here how it will be doing. So best way is for beginners is to verify from here, so that it will tell you what actually you're scheduling it, so that next time you don't need to get confused. Once you are used to it, then no worries. Okay, but here you have to validate. Okay, so now if we go to the terminal, if you see it here cron, right, now it has written something in cron, right? Earlier it was not writing that. There is a syntax error, correct? Okay, so that always remember that whenever you are doing it cron, so you should always use these log files. Okay, many people don't use it. Okay, and mostly they ask me that okay, it is not running, they have scheduled but it is not running. Okay, so the best way to debug is at least have a log file, right? So that you will know what happened to the script. Else you will not be, as a user you will not be able to find out. As an admin I can find out, but as an user you cannot find out. If I say as an admin, I can see what you are doing. I can go to where cron where log, the cron directory, cron. Don't worry about this command, we will see it tomorrow. Sorry, school cron. So there is a directory in where it will show you which user has scheduled what type of cron entries. So I can, as an admin, I can see the cron entries for all users. Okay, I can see the entries for all users, what root is doing, what Himanshu is using, or let's say any other user is creating a cron, it will be shown from here. Clear? Okay. No, you have to write such a way that you have. Now if you see, if I go to the log, I can see the cron entries. As an admin, I can see what happened. Okay, that this was executed. See, this command was executed. Okay, what happened to that command, what was executed, so it will display here. As an end user, as an admin, I can see it, but you cannot see it. So you have to validate, and even remember cron tab -l I showed you, right? So cron tab -l, cron tab -e, okay, to edit the file. So you can have multiple entries in different lines. You can have like 100, 200, how many entries you want, you can add. Okay, but always best practice is have some comments also, that this particular cron entries are doing what. Okay, so that you know, let's say these cron entries are for backup, these are for some application processing, so that you identify that which portion you want to make any changes. Okay, and also one assignment you can note it down, make a cron job and make a cron entry and write a cron job to take backup of your cron. Okay, how can you take the backup of your cron? Okay, because there is a command cron tab -r. If you run it, right, it will remove your cron. Let's say if I run it, my cron would have gone. It will not ask you whether you have done or not. Okay, so this is very dangerous in real time. If you run this, right, cron tab -r, so it will totally remove your content. So if I have 100 cron entries here, all will be gone and no backup. Even as an admin, I can see until unless that files are not backed up. Okay, so you cannot revert them back. So always never use this cron -r. Clear? Okay, so you should, like, I have this backup, I have taken cron tab -l, so I have this on my screen. I can simply copy and paste it in my cron entry again, which is fine, right? I can simply paste it and it's fine. Again it's back, right? So you should write a cron job. So when I say cron job, means that job should be scheduled in cron, that will take the backup of your cron entries only. Understood? Any questions? Okay, so this way you can use cron for scheduling your jobs. Comments like shift O, I can add. This is, yeah, same, like it's totally shell. Whatever you are doing, right? Anywhere have you seen other than shell? Whatever you have learned, you are using the same thing again and again. Okay, so it's the same thing that you are using. This is whatever you want and just save it. So whenever you will every time view it, right? So it will have a comment out of that. So like normally we do that. Okay, this is for my backup. This is for my some file processing. This is for some export import. So based on that, you can mention it. Okay, so comments are always very useful. Okay, so I will stop it here today. Okay, so we will continue tomorrow. So these are very important things, that's why I covered both path and cron, because when you are working with shell script, cron is the very important thing that you have to do every time. Okay, so cron you should know, but remember cron -r, don't use it. Or even editing, like, again one tip, if you want to edit a cron tab, I always prefer to run cron tab -l first on a other terminal, and then on the new session I will do cron tab -e, so that by mistake also I remove anything or delete anything, I have that opened with all the details in my other terminal, so that I can copy paste it back. Okay, so this is important, right? Many times I've seen junior doing this and all cron entries gone. It becomes very tedious in a real-time environment to get all those entries back, because where it will fail you will not understand. You have to search and search. Okay, so I will stop today. We will resume tomorrow. Okay, so we will have now we will have the commands. The important commands are there: grep, wc, awk, seed commands, find command. Okay, and how we use them. So they are very important. Okay. Okay, thank you for today. I will end the session.